Okay, I think we're going to get started, everyone. Welcome, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to the Smith in the World panel. I'm Leigh, the Assistant Director for Inclusive Career Development at the Lazarus Center. And we're so thrilled to have you all join for the 5th panel of the 2024 Smith in the World Conference Series. Future sessions include the Government, Law, and Public Policy panel next Wednesday, and then finally the STEM panel on the 28th. Before we begin, here's a brief overview about Smith in the World. The Smith in the World Conference is intended to celebrate and share students' off-campus experiential learning, including internships, community service, research, and study abroad. Students will offer reflections on how these experiences have impacted and enriched their academic and professional paths. We welcome all who have taken the time to join us today, both in person and over Zoom. Our panelists will give short presentations about their off-campus learning experiences, focusing on their projects, the impact these experiences had, and how Smith prepared them. Today's topic is education, nonprofit, and social impact. I'm honored to introduce our 3 panelists. We have Joe Strand, class of 24, a senior, who uses they, she pronouns. We have Samaya Wilson, also a senior, who uses she, her pronouns. And we have Phoebe Turner, class of 25, a junior, who uses she, z pronouns. Today, Joe, Samaya, and Phoebe will share their experiences in the following. Joe will discuss exploring reentry resources for previously incarcerated trans and gender nonconforming folks. Samaya will discuss education and community service in Ghana, and Phoebe will share her experience working at a social activist theater for first-gen BIPOC youth. Get excited, everyone. This session will be recorded, so we ask that audience members over Zoom, please keep yourselves muted. We encourage you to submit your questions for presenters using the chat tool, and we'll ask any questions submitted after all 3 presentations are finished. And with that, I'll hand it over to Joe.
Hi everyone, my name's Joe and I'm here to talk about my internship at TGIJP, which stands for the Transgender, Gender Variant, Intersex Justice Project. So TGIJP's mission is to challenge and end the human rights abuses committed against Black and Brown trans people inside of California prisons, jails, detention centers, and its vision is to empower TGI people both inside and outside of incarceration, creating a united family in the struggle for survival and freedom. TGIJP's strategies include direct services, policy advocacy, and Black TGI leadership development. So how did I get connected? Last spring, I took in a class at Mount Holyoke College called Anti-Carceral Action Feminist Research with Professor Rango. In that class, we did research for organizations doing the actual work using this type of research. And there we did research for TGIJP, and we spearheaded the project that I continued over this summer. So at the end of our work, the middleman kind of asked who wants to get an internship with me, and then I emailed them, and that's how I got it. So the project that I was working on over the summer is called the Reentry Resources Project. This project is in action because many incarcerated TGI, which stands for Transgender, Gender Variant, Intersex people, from outside of California, but yeah, TGIJP is based in San Francisco. So many TGI individuals from outside of California write and call to TGIJP asking for help with finding gender-affirming resources while planning their reentry process. The goal of this project is to develop a spreadsheet that includes all the gender-affirming resources that actively help people during their reentry process. We started the project with Massachusetts, South Carolina, Vermont, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Missouri, and Wisconsin, because these are the states that TGIJP get letters to the most often, except Massachusetts. But in the future, the project will expand to all 50 states. The spreadsheet will be shared with other organizations nationwide, so everyone helping TGI people through reentry are all in the know of which organizations to refer to. We also are developing this list so we can send letters back to the individuals who write to TGIJP from other states. In these letters, we will include the resources who write to TGIJP from other states from their state, along with the contact information, address, and the services the organizations provide. The needs of these people going through their re-entry process include, but aren't limited to, housing, food security, employment, name card changes, parole, mental health services, addiction services, healthcare, legal services, education, technology assistance, financial assistance and banking, and transportation. So these are all of the organizations that I was researching. And then what does gender affirming mean? Gender affirming organizations mean that when TGI people seek an organization's services, they are met with respect and understanding of their identity. The organization allows and encourages them to use their preferred pronouns and name, and they feel comfortable in their gender identity in the space of the organization, and they feel respected. In gender affirming spaces, people of the TGI community are given the opportunity to thrive, which is extremely important in the reentry process. So main tasks that I did for the project, I created standard operating procedures for future personnel to create sustainability for the project after I left. So I developed a description document, I developed a phone script, an email script, Google Forms, and some other things. And then bulk of my work was researching resources that are helpful in the states that we were focusing on. And then, of course, vetting the resources to see whether they were gender affirming. So I would first look at the websites. I would notice some red flags, green flags. One big green flag is having pronouns on the staff page on the website. And then a red flag was when organizations had programs for specifically women or specifically men, so split up programs was a red flag to me because obviously gender non-conforming people don't have a place in that organization. So the spreadsheet that I was developing and working on the entire summer looked like this. We color-coded. Yeah, so I color-coded red, orange, yellow, and green. Red was do not send people here. Orange, send with a lot of caution. Yellow, a little bit caution. Green, definitely send your people here. And then purple was whether organizations were interested in getting transgender competency training by TGIJP. Okay, and then here's a picture of the phone script that I developed. So we started to call organizations closer to the end of the summer to vet whether they were transgender competent. And so a core proponent of my work was that it was remote. So this was definitely an interesting experience to be working for an organization remotely. It was kind of isolating, but it was okay. My relationship with my supervisor was really strong, so that was really helpful. They were really supportive and they gave me a lot of autonomy in the project, which was amazing. And I know I can count on them in the future. I led a few people into the project at the end of the summer. So that was a good leadership experience. And then, of course, my understandings expanded of the reentry process, of the law and incarceration system, how an organization like TGIJP works, and cross-organization collaboration. So I'm just gonna end the presentation with the significance of this work. I want to reiterate the significance of this project and the similar work. Gender affirming spaces for TGI people are in need. Access to a gender affirming world go hand in hand with empowerment post-incarceration. Therefore, gender affirming spaces that empower people post-incarceration are not only life-changing, but life-saving. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samaya Wilson, and last summer I had the privilege of interning with Star Service and Study Abroad, located in Kaswa, Ghana. So a little bit about me. As I mentioned, my name is Samaya. I'm a senior here at Smith, graduating in May. I'm originally from Oakland, California. I'm double majoring in Africana Studies and English with a creative writing focus, as well as a concentration in community engagement and social change. So Neolina Ali and Brittany Howard created Star Service and Study Abroad in 2016. Through their many years of research and travel, they saw the positive impact that people can have on communities when given the right tools and opportunities. Conversely, they've seen the problems that can arise when people are not adequately prepared to work with people different than themselves. Witnessing the lack of diversity in ethics education and many programs, they were inspired to create SSSA. Their goal is to increase cultural competence amongst adults based in the US and give them the skills to learn and work in international settings. Through applied learning modules and internship experience, the program enables participants to make meaningful contributions to grassroots projects in Central Ghana. Their vision is to revolutionize the study abroad and international volunteering industries. They do this by interrupting, challenging, and calling in the growing number of well-intentioned individuals, groups, and institutions attempting to provide service projects with little measure of impact, exploitation, or sustainability of their projects. To change and revolutionize these trends, they provide a comprehensive hands-on program that teaches and practices with its participants and stakeholders. Founded by Momley Adams, Fixed Care is a registered non-governmental organization that aims to improve health and educational outcomes for girls and youth in the Kaswa area. Fixed Care works closely with local administrators, community members, schools, and other stakeholders to improve the health of youth in the community. Their initiatives include education in schools, assisting in local health clinics, data analysis and research, implementing safe sex and teen pregnancy prevention programs, and more. Their motto is "We fix because we care." My primary job during my internship was educating children at the Martinet International School, grades 4 through 8, on the topics of sexual education and sanitation. In terms of sexual education, topics range from methods of preventing teenage pregnancy, options for birth control, review of reproductive anatomy, and lessons on vocabulary, including terms like consent and respect. In addition to the children at Martinet, we also gave informational talks on reproductive health at 2 fashion schools in Ghana. Sanitation topics included lessons on the spread of germs and how to prevent them. I created detailed lesson plans while teaching the same subject across a number of grades and had to modify the material to be appropriate for each grade. I also observed care in the family planning unit at a local clinic, as well as assisting with the weighing of small children while also monitoring their growth development. The biggest challenges that I faced during my internship were homesickness and beginning the work initially with the children. Previous to this internship, I hadn't worked with children before. Being the youngest in my immediate family, I didn't have any younger siblings to act as a reference point for understanding children's needs and behaviors. This internship, however, presented a unique opportunity to engage with and support children in a professional setting. Initially, I approached the experience with curiosity and a willingness to learn. Over the course of the internship, I developed valuable skills in communication, patience, and adaptability as I began teaching. What I appreciated the most from Mom Leigh's guidance was her approach to our teaching. While we were there to teach the students valuable lessons on sexual education and sanitation, we were also there to be a friend, someone who they could talk to about topics that were considered taboo within Ghanaian culture. Within the culture in the classroom, the main teachings of sexual education and abstinence and these types of lessons are often skipped over, are not very thorough when taught by teachers. At home, youth rarely have the opportunity to talk about sex or sexual topics with their teachers or their parents. As someone who comes from the United States and California more specifically, sexual education was very thoroughly taught and talked about in school. By grade 6, we were already diving deep into conversations on sexual and reproductive health. While I felt nervous teaching at first, I realized that I was actually an expert in my own experience and could relay the information to the children who were eager to learn more about these unaddressed topics. On Saturdays, we took trips outside of Kaswa to visit sites that pertain to our readings and learnings. Some sites that we visited were the W.E.B. Du Bois Memorial Center for Pan-African Culture in Accra, the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board in Kumasi, the Black Star Monument, also known as the Independence Center in Accra, the Asen Monso Slave River site, and the Cape Coast Castle, which is home to the Door of No Return, through which millions of Africans were forced onto slave ships bound for the United States. These outside trips provided immersive, tangible connections to the historical and cultural context we study in the classroom. Standing at these historical landmarks and tracing the footsteps of my ancestors deepened my understanding of the lived experiences and struggles of those who came before me. It transformed my academic exploration into a profound, visceral engagement with history, leaving an influential mark on my perspectives and fostering a greater appreciation for the resilience and heritage of my ancestors. Coupled with the practical experience were classes taught weekly by Brittany, which covered topics ranging from dissecting culture and stereotypes, overviews of Ghanaian history, and topics on volunteerism and tourism, and their lasting effects on the country of Ghana and others alike. Included in the reading curriculum was the book titled Homegoing by Ya Jossi. The book tells a story of Ghanaian half-sisters and their families over 8 generations, from the times of Gold Coast through slavery in America and ending with the Harlem Renaissance. In connection to my major in Africana Studies with a focus on diaspora, the major centers the interdisciplinary examinations. Homegoing mirrors this approach by delving into social, historical, cultural, and aesthetic dimensions of populations in African descent throughout the diaspora. Jossi's narrative goes beyond assuming race as a static concept, aligning with the major's ethos, and considers it in relation to gender, class, nation, ethnicity, religion, and sexuality. The novel contributes to a nuanced understanding of historical trauma that I, as an African American in Ghana, felt a relation to. As an African American coming to Ghana, the idea of a return home can sometimes feel cliche, but there were times when I saw myself, my family, and my friends and those around me. While strangers walking on the street are people whom I've never met, they resemble those whom I've known for a lifetime. It's nearly impossible to imagine my life untethered from theirs, when the biggest thing that makes us different is the heart-wrenching occurrence of history. On the shores of Kokobite, in conversation with the locals, during tree lessons with Becky on the weekends, and in the office of Martin at school with Mr. Farouk, a common message was made clear to me. In finding oneself, one must go back to their roots. You cannot move forward without reflecting and learning from the past. And in doing so, you'll create a clear path for your future. From my internship experience, I took away the importance of cross-cultural communication. It is a vital skill to have in our globalized world. It fosters mutual understanding and respect among individuals from diverse backgrounds, reducing the likelihood of misunderstandings and stereotypes. The skill enhances collaboration in multicultural settings, encouraging the exchange of diverse perspectives for innovative problem solving. By promoting cultural sensitivity, it helps individuals avoid reinforcing stereotypes and biases. Ultimately, it is an essential skill that promotes harmony, inclusivity, and success in our interconnected and diverse society. As a humanities major who wasn't sure of the capabilities of having an English major with a creative writing focus and Africana Studies major, I can now confidently affirm that this academic journey, alongside similar experiences, has proven immensely rewarding. Choosing to pursue my passions has not only provided me with a fulfilling path, but has also opened a world filled with endless opportunities and possibilities. The interdisciplinary nature of my studies has enriched my understanding of diverse perspectives and equipped me with valuable skills, making me feel successful in embracing the intersection of literature, creative expression, cultural studies, and service. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Phoebe, and I did my internship last summer with the Performance Project, which is a theater company and activist group operating out of Springfield, right here in Massachusetts. All right, so I wanted to show, this is a wonderful example of the joy that that just permeated through every room that was, you know, hosted and created by this group. So enjoy this little taste. Is there a way to? Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna start it over. The sound is very important, so. No, okay. Well, okay, I'll explain what's happening here. This is Moise, who is one of the leaders and one of the first generation ensemble members, and he's saying you, and they're saying mentors. They're shouting it back. So it's a beautiful moment that happened frequently during the summer through the Ubuntu programming, which was with younger youth. And there was so much joy every day, and that was a part of it. Okay, so I wanted to share a little bit about the Performance Project's mission and vision. So it is a huge part of it is about social and personal liberation, embracing individuals and cultures from all over the world. In every opening to every circle, they have a welcome. And if you see one of their performances as well, you'll see it. They talk about how they are a community of many ages and ancestries, and how they're here to engage the youth with intensive artistic training, intergenerational mentoring, leadership development, and community building through the arts. So there are 3 different parts to the Performance Project, and first generation is their youth ensemble. So this is an active professional theater ensemble that encompasses youth from ages 15 to 22, and they are multilingual, first generation youth in any sense of the word, first to come to the United States, first to be an English speaker, first to be queer in their family. It's just all about whatever first that you feel you're bringing to the world. And they are, yes, leaders, creators, and artists, and all are from the focus is on diverse ancestries, specifically BIPOC youth, immigrant youth, and refugee youth. So key to their process is mentoring across generations, social justice dialogue, and they channel all of that into their physical theater and devising process, where they present artistic work, and they build and maintain community, and train with other artists, and above all, stand up profusely and beautifully against all of these injustices that we're living with in this world. And part of their key strategy is this contract of the heart. And so everyone, upon entering First Gen, has to sign a contract where they sign on to values of respect, values of communication, of constantly returning to their community agreements, revising that. You can see here that there's some brainstorming going on within the circle. And it's all about really creating a space that is safe, that is also challenging in a healthy way, and making sure that everyone feels heard and seen, and that their creative voice can be harnessed to stand up against the social justice issues they're concerned with. And then Ubuntu is what you saw in the very beginning. So Ubuntu is another part of the organization, and it is their youth, it's their younger cohort, which is around ages 5 to 13. And they participate in mentoring relationships with all of the First Gen youth, and then oftentimes older siblings and other community members who would like to participate in mentoring these kids. But we don't call them kids here. We actually call them gems, because it really speaks to how unique each child is, and that is so important in the performance project. And they get to do karate, dance, drumming, art, theater, storytelling, poetry, a whole host of things, and they're provided a lunch and a breakfast during the summer, and during the school year as well. They do. They provide food as well, and it is about learning about social justice through the arts. And really, one thing that was really important, because so many of these youth struggle with growing up a little too fast and having to face some of the harder and more brutal parts of this world. So this is a place where they just get to be a kid and just get to really enjoy art, and also harness the spirit of Ubuntu. So that's really important too, which is a spirit of generosity, of listening, of kindness, and extending a helping hand to others. So what sets Ubuntu and First Gen apart from other extracurriculars? So the people it serves, so Ubuntu is free, so is First Gen. First Gen, they actually get paid. And it's very, it's democratic in the broadest sense of the word. The language, just with the verbiage, Ubuntu and gems, I just love it. And also multilingualism in different languages is really important as well. And then kind but firm mentorship. So holding boundaries and challenging gems in healthy ways, getting mentors to stay engaged, and respecting each other. Those are all really key values and key skills that we hope to instill in the GEMS. And then community. There are celebrations with family, friends, and the GEMS and the First Gen Ensemble frequently, which is so wonderful, bringing everyone together. And then each meeting, there's a high and low ritual. You know, everybody gets to share a little bit about where they're coming from. Couple of other projects that I'll just go through quickly. They also support the larger community through their celebrations and help with college application support for some of the youth who are of age. There are field trips. So the Ubuntu cohort, we took 2 different groups to Eagle Eye, which is a nonprofit in far Western Mass. It was their first time in a forest for a lot of these kids. And then they also do lots of workshops on raising healthy men and boys. And they're really right on top of some of the gender studies that we talk about here at Smith. They tell stories of trading emotional, tapping in emotionally for masculinity and power, talking about the man box, some of the constraints that are put on men in this day and age. These are just a couple of my favorite memories. So this was, for so many of them, it was their first time to the woods and their first time at a waterfall, and they were so excited. Here is something that was encouraged at the end of every single circle. You were encouraged to just go and hug someone that you feel called to. So beautiful. And then this was just to go through it quickly. This was a tableau exercise which is a theater exercise that was one of my individual projects, where I took on 5 mentors who were kind of in between the Ubuntu and first gen ages. These gems were around 14, 15, and I introduced them to some theater activities and skills that I've learned over time as a theater student. And the take home that I hope you can bring with you after this presentation is just about community and finding home within each other and within community. I mean, it was really amazing seeing that, seeing how deeply they cared about creating a safe and loving community where everyone felt heard. And doing that in this changing and at times brutal world is one of the most incredible acts of revolution and love that we can do. Last thing, come and support them. They First Generation is performing at UMass on February 28th. It is free, you guys. so show up if you feel called. It's really amazing, devising physical theater. So absolutely show up. And also, I want to mention they are actually logged on with work study. So any 5 college students that may be interested in interning with them, and they're always looking for people. They actually have an agreement with all 5 colleges for work study, and of course, any donations. That goes a long way. Thank you so much.
Greetings. I'm Shawna McCoy, the Career Specialist for Education, Nonprofit, and Social Impact Career Community. And first off, I want to thank the wonderful panelists for sharing their amazing internship experiences. It was awesome. Now we are ready to take questions from the audience. So we have our online folks, and then we have the mic in the room so people can walk up and ask questions as well. All right, so we have one from the chat. That is, are there any ways for us to get involved in the TGIJP or otherwise support incarcerated TGI people?
Yeah, I would really recommend looking them up online. They're always taking donations, and if you're interested in volunteering, I think it's possible to volunteer remotely, unless you live in San Francisco. So I would say definitely connect with them and look them up.
Another question. This is for all of you. What is something that surprised you in the work you did? How were your assumptions challenged?
Something that surprised me was the connection between my project and law in general. I was a part of like the law team. My supervisor is an attorney, and that just, I don't know, I thought it was interesting. I was able to connect like nonprofit work and community engagement with actual law. And that makes sense because it was the incarceration system. So
I think that something that surprised me the most was the workload that teachers have. I think being on the side of a student, it's kind of like you're waiting for your grades or like feedback on assignments, and you're like, I want it promptly. But being like on the side of the teacher, it's like, okay, I have to create lesson plans and I have to do it for every single grade and like modify that and give like individual feedback for everyone. So I think that that was something that was like surprising to me, just like the workload that teachers have.
Something that surprised me was definitely the amount of time that was spent really, really intently on making sure that everyone was heard. And someone coming from, you know, a very different part of the theater world where we can be really constricted and time-wise, and there are a lot of sort of parameters set in place. And it was actually really beautiful watching that dissolve a little bit. And community was so important to them that, and empathy was so important to them that they would go sometimes like 2 p.m. to like 8 p.m. And they still do this. They do that with their ensemble, and with the younger kids, it's a little different, but with their ensemble, they will spend an inordinate amount of time, or rather, just a large amount of time. It's very well spent, but they really take time to really make sure everyone is heard, and that was really beautiful to see.
So my question is for you. Do you feel like going back to Ghana was healing for you? Did you have any personal experiences with the students that you weren't expecting to feel deeply connected with?
I think that definitely it was healing for me to go back to Ghana, especially when we went to the Slave River. That was something that was like very emotional for me, and as well as like the door of no return. I actually wasn't able to like fully go on the tour of the site. I think it was just a lot for me to process. But yeah, just being in that space and like feeling that connection was something that was so deep. And then in terms of the children, they were just amazing. They're full of like energy, super excited to learn. And they taught me a lot too. Like they knew 3+ languages and were like, I know a little bit of sign language. So they were like, can you teach us sign language? Can you teach us Spanish? They're just very eager to learn anything and everything. So they amaze me in that way.
This is from our Zoom audience. You all are doing such meaningful work and service. I'm wondering what the biggest takeaway from your internship was this past summer.
I think that the biggest takeaway for me is just not to be afraid of trying new things. Like I mentioned before, I had never worked with kids, and we were like in the classrooms alone. So there were 3 of us total, 3 interns, but we all went to different schools. And so I was a bit nervous to like be teaching these students. But just after the experience, I was like, okay, I can work with kids. I can do this. And just like building my confidence up of like being the only one in the classroom and being kind of like in charge and creating like my own curriculum.
I would say that my biggest takeaway was just how important grassroots work is, and realizing, and we talk about it a lot here at Smith about social justice issues and the revolution, for lack of a better word. And what I realized was it's in the connections and in the empathy and the active listening, the witnessing of others that is so incredibly impactful, and listening to other people's stories and crafting those into art and into channeling all of that into meaning through artistic practice and theater practice, is where it's happening, and it was really beautiful to bear witness to that and do what I could to support.
This is like a hard question for me. I feel like I have a lot of takeaways. I can't pinpoint one, but I guess one thing that I learned is if you're working on a project, to really take ownership and take leadership. And if you have an idea or an instinct, just go for it and ask the person if you need to ask them, but just go for it and don't let like your fears take you back from where you should be.
Excellent. So a lot of students are listening intently to, you all and your experiences, and they're trying to figure out what are they going to do? How are they going to find an internship as wonderful as yours? So question would be, how did you find this internship and what was the application process like?
I found my internship in my email inbox from the Africana Studies department. And an advice that I would give is just like read the Smith e-digest. I know sometimes they're kind of long, but they have really, really good information in there. And you can find access to like different internships, funding for those internships. But that's pretty much how I found mine, through the department. And then the application process was kind of long. I had to like submit the application to the program. And then once accepted, I had to go through like background checks and fingerprinting, things of that nature, since I was working with children. And then since I was going internationally, getting my visa, getting lots of shots, and just getting prepared for the overall travel.
Mine was sort of, there were kind of 2 things going on. One was just really in-depth Google searching. And so they the performance project came up on my radar pretty early on in my Smith journey, just because they are so close. And I was like avidly searching. It's like theater and social justice, and that's kind of how they came up. But then the Jandon Center, which is such a resource, they suggested that to me again. They mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I have heard about them, and it kind of went from there. The process was a little, not so much fingerprinting and all of that, but it was just an interview process, and really, which was also, something this organization is real when they start asking you like deep questions on the very first first interaction, and also asking about like my ancestry and like it was amazing, and yeah, and then we went from there. Yeah.
I guess I had kind of a unique experience with finding my organization because I found them in a class. But I would really recommend if you're looking for like an internship at nonprofits like this, to just like ask your professors and ask your advisors and the other adults, your mentors in your life, even your friends might have really important information. So I would say word of mouth for internships like this. But I also had to do an interview, even though I had already worked on the project in my class. I did an interview with my future supervisor, and it went pretty smoothly. Just be yourself. And yeah.
I heard the Jandon Center. So I want to know, how did the resources at Smith prepare you for these internships?
I took advantage of the Praxis stipend through the Lazarus Center. And so that's basically, if you're doing a concentration at Smith, you have the opportunity to do 2 paid internships. So I already had my first one, and then Starter Service and Study Abroad was my second one. So I was able to get funding through that way. And I also did some funding on GoFundMe.
Yeah, mine was also through Praxis. Definitely utilized that resource. Also, the Jandon Center can be really supportive if you're struggling with like community work. Talking to your professors is also a great resource. Lazarus Center too.
So no worries. Yeah, so I also use Praxis, which is, it's amazing that Smith can do that for us. And yeah, talking with professors, especially those in the Jandon Center, that's where I really found mentors and found support. I also really learned from the, you guys can help me with the exact name, the ethics course that we have to take for the concentration. It's, is it just community ethics?
So.
Okay, it's the gateway course for the community engagement and social change concentration. And that was really helpful in helping me frame and understand and move forward. And there were definitely moments in the internship where I realized, you know what, like I actually need to kind of, see that I'm looking through my own positionality. I need to take a step back. I need to actually, this is, it's not about my experience in this internship. It's actually about the ways that I can be most of service to this community. So yeah, so the ethics course was also really helpful.
Hello. Okay, that's very loud. First of all, I really loved all your presentations. Thank you all very much for sharing. My question is with regards to the duration of your internships in the study abroads. I just wanted to know, did they last for like 8 weeks, 10 weeks? When did they start after the semester ended? Did you have to leave early? Like, what are the mechanics that went into that? Thank you.
I had a lot of autonomy with when my internship was going to start and end. I worked with my organization over 8 weeks. And I got to choose like the date of beginning and ending. That was pretty chill for me.
My internship lasted 6 weeks. So I was in Ghana for the duration of July and then a few weeks in August. And I didn't have to like miss any school or anything, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so my internship started in the end of June and ran through probably the third week of August. I also think, for everyone out there, you definitely double check this, but Praxis, I believe if you want to take advantage of the funding, you have to do at least 5 weeks for your internship, and it has to be 220 hours in total. So that's definitely an important logistical consideration. There are some accommodations as well if you need to discuss that with your supervisor and the Lazarus Center, if you have accommodations that may limit your ability to fully complete that. I, for example, did only 200 hours because I have some disability accommodations. So that's definitely a conversation you can have as well. But yeah, so yeah, I think I got everything.
Are there any more questions in the audience?
I'm
Okay. Janet, do they have any organizations outside of the state? Outside of Smith? Is that what you were asking? Okay. That they can connect you with?
I'm pretty sure that like most of the organizations are in the area, so in the county. They already have like programs that they're connected with, and they can plug you into those programs. Hannah Gates is right there, and she's from the Gender Center. So if you have any questions about it, you could ask her.
But they definitely support and give a lot of resources to students, and making sure that wherever they might live, mine was a local, and maybe and yours was remote, but so maybe you can speak more to the outside of the area, but I definitely know and feel confident that that they pour resources towards all over the U.S. and all over the world. They know what steps to take, what emails you need to send, how to go about an interview with an organization. They can help you with all sorts of things, and provide some really good mentorship to you.
If there are no more questions, this concludes today's Smith in the World panel. Thank you. All right. Thank you again to our wonderful panelists. And thank you to our audience for all of your questions. I hope you all enjoyed this session as much as we did. We encourage you to register for upcoming panels. The website will be put in the chat, but basically smith.edu and search Smith in the World. Thank you so very much.